Squeaky shoe lawsuit, the latest on the French crown jewels heist ad campaign, and the country that never had mosquitoes until now. What a weird week.
Hi, everybody, it's Weird.
This is like crazy being here.
Weird.
Really weird tales.
Bigfoot eats out of my trash.
Well, I got a great show for you today with some wonderful weird stuff.
Hi, friends. I am Scott, and this is the show we call What a Weird Week. If you're new here, we go back through the news of the week and we pick out the odd ones, the weird ones, the fun and interesting stories. We count down 10 of them in about 15 minutes, and we also do a blog post with all our show notes. You can click shownotes.page, shownotes.page. This is our episode for Friday, October 24th, 2025.
Number 10.
Number 10 is the Squeaky shoe lawsuit. The headline from USA Today is Customers Sue Swiss Shoe Company for Noisy and Embarrassing Squeak Issue. And it's exactly what you think. A bunch of people bought these shoes. They're called Cloud or some variation on Cloud. One of them is called Cloud Monster. Anyway, they bought these shoes. They're walking around in these shoes, and the shoes squeak. And it's really annoying people to the point where there's a class action lawsuit over the squeaky shoes. They want their money back, which they say the shoes in the article, they list the price somewhere between $140 and $180. They want their money back, but also they want a jury to decide on damages now. Not exactly pain and suffering, but kind of. That's how I'm not a legal expert there, but whatever they're suing for, like these shoes were soups embarrassing. I was squeaking all over town. Everybody made fun of me. They called me old Squeaky, whatever. And so now the class action lawsuit, they want some damages. What if you were a private investigator and you bought these Cloud shoes thinking you'd sneak around, and then instead of sneaking, you were squeaking and your cover was blown? The article doesn't mention that a private investigator had that happen, but that would have been dramatic.
Number 9.
Number 9 is the lady who discovered a vintage Halloween mask and made a lot of money off it. I love stories like this. This was at a Goodwill in California. The lady named Brittany went in and saw a mask. It looked like one of the masks you'd see on the movie Scream. She looked at it. It seemed old vintage to her. She paid $5 for it, put it on eBay, and it sold for almost $800 on eBay. Because it turns out there's a whole thing about the history of these masks. Somebody who worked on the movie Scream, was involved with the Scream movies, saw one of these masks in a Halloween shop and thought it would be good for their movie. And that's how it got into the Scream movie. So the mask was around before those Scream movies. And if you get one from the Fun Time company, it's vintage and it's worth money. And that's what happened here. So almost $800. Nice going, Brittany. If you want to see what the mask looks like and get into the history, click show notes. Page.
Number 8.
Number 8 is the toxic toads warning that had to go out in Phoenix. They had some rainfall in Phoenix, and then the headlines were all, "Don't lick the toads," because people want to lick the toads, and you're not supposed to lick the toads. It can be dangerous. This is one of those things, right? Maybe you've heard about how some toads excrete a psychoactive compound, and so people are tempted to lick the toads. It can be extremely dangerous to lick anything, but especially those toads. Anytime you go to lick anything, ask yourself, am I being prudent? I guess I'll stop there on that one. The toads are freaky looking, and I don't know how you could muster up the courage to lick one anyway. Please don't lick the toads.
Number 7.
This one is the airplane that got diverted to Salt Lake City after, at first the captain said it was hit by space debris. Scary. But then later on, they determined it was not space debris that hit the plane. It was a weather balloon. Now, if you're a true believer like me, the number one cover-up on UFOs, the number one cover story is weather balloon. So I remain skeptical, although I do kind of trust the experts on this. Stuff came through the cockpit windshield and hit the captain. And he injured his arm being hit by this debris. And imagine too, you don't know at first, you're like, what even happened? What is currently happening? Where are we? Look at my arm. I don't know. These are some thoughts. Why am I here? I can't fly a plane. That would be, personally, if I were in that situation, I can't fly a plane. So that would be also a thought I would have. Anyway, well done to the pilot. Sorry you got hurt. Well done to get that plane and everybody safely landed in Salt Lake City. If you want to see some photos, we'll link to those in the show notes or click shownotes.page.
Number 6.
This one is a wild story about money being stolen or found, or how did the money get on the street in the first place? So here's how it shook down. Police in Maine are looking for someone who scooped up more than $7,000 from the street. How the money got there was a fellow sold a car, cash money, put the money on the roof of their vehicle and forgot about it. Yikes. And drove away. The money blew onto the street. So somebody comes along and they see this money on the street and they're like, well, that seems like I should pick that up. This is me paraphrasing. I don't know what was going on in that person's mind, but something like, well, hey, there's some money I'm going to grab. So the original person, the person who the money belongs to, right, they end up some sort of search party situation. One of their family members is tracing the route, looking for the money, and they come across this fellow picking up the money. They call the police and say somebody is picking up money from the street and it's not their money. So the money scooper person got out of there before the cops got there. They do have some dash cam footage. And also, fascinating article from WMUR. I'm going to read a quote. The incident happened in front of the White Sails Inn. A guest at the inn, Audrey LaRose, said she was knitting by the front window and did not realize what was happening outside. And then they have a few other quotes from Audrey, but they do not, and I'm not going to judge, I'm not a reporter, whatever. They do not say what Audrey was knitting. Was it a scarf, Audrey? Mittens? What we would call here in Eastern Canada a toque? Was it a toque? So there is still some unanswered questions. If you want to read the article, we will put a link in the show notes.
Number 5.
Number 5 is a heartwarming story about an elf inside of a pumpkin. This involves one of those pumpkin races. I know they do some here on the east coast of Canada where I'm at, but around the world, if you have access to giant pumpkins that you can hollow out, those things will float like a boat. If you can get some liquid water going on and you can put those pumpkin boats in the water, that's entertaining and people race them. This one happened in Oregon, and it was somebody dressed as Buddy the Elf who won this pumpkin boat race. Real name Gary, but most of the articles report that Buddy the Elf, Oregon floating pumpkin race. The article has pictures and more details, but I think we can probably stop there. We hit all the high points. Buddy the Elf, giant pumpkin. I guess those 2 points are the high points.
Number 4.
We got to cover this one. Everybody covered it around the world. No doubt you've heard of it, but we have to get into this wild story about the fellows who stole the French crown jewels from the Louvre in Paris. On Sunday morning, 4 men drove a truck. The truck had one of those cherry picker extender ladder type things on it. They drive up to the Louvre. They climb the ladder to the second floor and break in. They're done in about 7 minutes, and they went right to the French crown jewels worth, well, a lot of articles say priceless. One article I read, $100 million value. So somewhere in there, somewhere between priceless and $100 million. At time of recording, no suspects, no arrests, but a lot of evidence, they say, including DNA. If television has taught me anything, once they got your DNA, you done been got. They put your DNA through CODIS. They got you. Surveillance photos, they just keep hitting enhance until finally it's a clear picture of you. They got you. Ancestry.com, they can do a lot with your DNA on can't they? I think I saw that. Ancestry.com solves crimes. This portion not sponsored by Ancestry.com, and I could be wrong about that, but I watched a lot of CSI growing up, and I think I know everything. There's one other twist that maybe you didn't hear this angle. The company who makes the brand of cherry picker truck that was captured in the surveillance footage, now they have an advertising campaign, and the slogan, and this is true, when you need to move fast, and then, the brand name of their cherry picker truck. Also, they advertise it as quiet as a whisper. So that's kind of funny, right?
Number 3.
Number 3 is a study about when we're stressed out, what we do and how you can tell if somebody's stressed out. The research says that you can't always tell, hardly ever can you tell by facial expression. A lot of times people who are stressed out seem serious or neutral face, but it's the touching of the face that gives it away. And I guess we touch our face like 800 times a day. And most of the time, we don't even register that. But if you see somebody touching the cheek, the chin, the nose, the lower part of the face, that indicates things are getting mentally demanding or the person is getting stressed out. Maybe that'll help you if you're a professional poker player. File that one away. That might be handy there. Or perhaps in other situations. If you want to read the whole survey, click shownotes.page.
Number 2.
Number 2 is mosquitoes in Iceland. There used to not be mosquitoes in Iceland, and now they found 3 mosquitoes in Iceland. And by the way, I pronounce it Iceland. Am I supposed to be saying Iceland? I mean, no offense. It's just how I pronounce it. And mosquitoes, are we good on that? I think I pronounced that one right. Iceland used to be the only country in the world without mosquitoes until recently when researchers found 3 mosquitoes. Imagine somebody in Iceland is going to be the first person to ever be bitten by a mosquito. They should have a contest. It should be that if you're the first person in Iceland bitten by a mosquito, you should live tax exempt for the rest of your life. And government of Iceland, I'm willing to sit down and discuss some other great ideas I have. Honorable mention. This week, the honorable mention goes to the article in Popular Science titled, Can Dogs Sense Ghosts? And I'm just going to say yes. I didn't read the article, but I'm pretty sure dogs can sense ghosts. Come on. So I really did read the article, and they quote some parapsychologists who have seen weird things, dogs doing weird things. One of the theories that is not paranormal is just we don't maybe realize how great at sensing stuff our dogs and cats are. So it seems like the dog is barking at a ghost in the corner. It could be a mouse out in the yard, and the dog was able to hear that thing. The article kind of concludes popular science is not going to support the theory that dogs see ghosts. We need more evidence. I'll put it that way. I'm not saying they're closed-minded at popular science, but more evidence needed. So keep an eye out. If you have dogs, cats, perhaps a gerbil that senses the otherworldly, keep an eye out and try to gather some data.
Number 1.
Our number 1 story, I think I should do a trigger warning. It's about a food that I would think is gross, but I don't mean any disrespect. I mean, everybody has their own tastes. Maybe this is something like I don't mean to offend you by not liking this food if you like this food. This is the Brains and Eggs bar featuring pork brain. It looks like a chocolate bar. And my fear is that somebody's handing out chocolate bars and I just unwrap that thing and start chowing down because I have a weakness for chocolate. But it actually contains, yes, chocolate, but also pork brain, caramelized pork brain. Now, if that is something that floats your boat, I will link to this thing. Maybe you want to track down this bar. It does the opposite for me. It sinks my boat. I guess that would be the opposite. It sinks my boat, the chocolate bar with caramelized pork brain. Why? Is there a market for that? I'm not very worldly wise. Is there a market for chocolate brains? Brains and chocolate. You got your brains in my chocolate. No, you got your chocolate in my brains. That could be the ad campaign. Okay, we're going to stop there, but thanks for listening to What a Weird Week, where we look back at the odd stories from the week and we count them down for you. You can get everything we talked about at the website shownotes.page. That's where the show notes are and everything else about our program. We'll catch you next Friday for more cool, interesting, and weirdness on What a Weird Week.